no room for responses. The crowd parted easily, and Dane did his best to look straight ahead, his expression serious. The press would have their requisite photos and footage. Dane Matthews, Hollywood star, coming to court to give testimony on the crazy stalker who tried to kill his associate. None of them really expected more than that. Other than passing glances and whispered comments, Dane and Joe weren't approached again as they entered the building and took the elevator to the 8th floor. They were met by a sharp-looking woman who appeared to be in her mid-50s. She introduced herself as the prosecuting attorney. "We have a room set up for you." She gave them a business-like smile. "Follow me." The attorney explained the proceedings as they walked down another hallway, but Dane did little more than give an occasional nod in her direction. Joe would handle the details. All he had to do was tell the story while the prosecutor tape-recorded it. For now he could let his mind wander, let himself think about Katie. He hadn't heard from her since opening night of Annie, but she was there when he woke up and when he lay down to sleep. The past few months had been the loneliest of his life. Not that he hadn't had offers. He was in the middle of filming a romantic suspense film opposite a dark-haired beauty with exotic looks and a penchant for her leading men. The attorneys were still talking as they reached a door at the end of the hallway. Dane glanced at his watch, then toward the elevator. Katie would be here in 15 minutes. "This is perfect." Joe opened the door and led the way into a small room. He looked at Dane. "You ready?" "Perfectly." Dane felt a sudden rush of passion toward the job ahead. The stalker had cost him much. This was his chance to get back at her. The prosecutor followed them inside. "The deposition doesn't start for 20 minutes. She checked the clock on the wall. "I'll grab coffee and be back by then." "I'll come." Joe set his portfolio on the desk and nodded at Dane. "Want anything?" "I'm fine." The attorneys left, and Dane took one of the seats. In the silence he could almost hear his heartbeat. Would Katie still have feelings for him? Would the electricity, the emotions that had existed between them, still be there after they'd been apart so long? He tapped his fingers on the table. The minutes couldn't drop off the clock fast enough. He should have brought his Bible, the one Katie had given him. That would have passed the time. He had been reading it lately, taking in a little more of the message every night. Not that he was ready to hit the nearest church or claim himself born again, the way some of his athlete friends had done recently. But the God of the Bible was the same God claimed by his parents, the Baxters, and Katie Hart. Because of that, he was the same God on Dane's mind more often now. He was about to step outside and check for Katie when he heard a knock. The attorneys would have come in without waiting, so maybe it was... He stood and opened the door, and before he could take another breath he was looking into her eyes, the same clear blue eyes he'd connected with from the balcony of the Bloomington Community Theater back in November. "Hi." She was breathless. She looked over her shoulder, nervous. "I've never seen so many cameras." "They didn't know it was you, did they?" "No." She exhaled, finding her composure. "I slipped past." He let her in, closed the door, and suddenly they were alone, face to face, as if no time at all had passed between them. "Katie." He reached out and took her hands. "You look wonderful." The faintest blush tinged her cheeks, and she shifted her gaze to the floor. When her eyes found his again, he had the answer he was looking for. The connection was still there. It was in her eyes, and in her expression, and in the way she ran her thumbs along the tops of his hands. "I didn't think we'd have any time alone." "We won't have much." Her smile told him everything she was feeling, but at the same time it cried of resignation, because here they were again, their emotions leading the way, and yet their time would be measured and counted by the events around them, by the parameters of his world. "How are you, Dane?" "I'm good." He grinned, wanting desperately to keep things light. How was it fair that this visit would end up amounting to little more than another sad goodbye? "What are you working on?" "Robin Hood?" She stifled a laugh. "It's coming together." "The kids?" He wanted to know, wanted to soak himself in everything about her.